There are things in this universe that have not yet come to pass. Events waiting quietly in the dark. But what if the future has already been written? What if tomorrow is just a script waiting to be performed? For millennia, humans have sought to tear the veil of time. We have looked to prophets, oracles, and mystic seers. Most of them were charlatans, selling false hope. But history records a terrifying handful of prophecies that actually came true. How did they do it? Was it dark magic, divine intervention? Or is the truth something far more fascinating? Let us journey back to 546 BC. King Croesus of Lydia, the wealthiest man on earth, faced a nightmare. He stood at the brink of war against the rising Persian Empire, a massive force threatening to swallow his kingdom. Terrified of the outcome, Croesus sent immense, glittering treasures to the legendary Oracle of Delphi, seeking divine guidance. His messengers asked the oracle a single, desperate question. Should our king cross the river and attack Persia? Deep in the temple, the Pythia, inhaling the sacred glowing fumes of the earth, delivered a chillingly precise prophecy. If Croesus goes to war, he will destroy a great empire. Emboldened by the gods, Croesus gathered his massive army. He crossed the Thales River and engaged the Persians, and he was utterly, catastrophically crushed. The oracle was absolutely right. A great empire was destroyed that day. It was just his own. This is the first weapon of the prophet, the illusion of ambiguity. A statement so perfectly crafted, it is never wrong. But not all ancient prophecies relied on clever wordplay. Some relied on something much more dangerous: science. In 585 BC, the Medes and the Lydians had been slaughtering each other in a brutal, muddy, endless war for 6 long, agonizing years. The battlefields were soaked, and neither side would yield an inch. The conflict seemed destined to consume both entire civilizations until nothing remained. But a brilliant philosopher named Thales of Miletus stepped forward and made a horrifying, seemingly impossible prediction that shocked the ancient world. He proclaimed loudly that the gods were angry, and on a specific upcoming day, the sky would turn completely and terrifyingly black. He warned that the blazing sun would be completely devoured by darkness, right in the middle of a clear, bright afternoon. The hardened soldiers laughed at this absurd claim, dismissing him as a madman. That was until the fateful day of May 28th arrived. Right in the chaotic heat of battle, the sky unnaturally darkened. The temperature suddenly dropped, sending a chilling wind across the muddy field. The bright sun simply vanished behind a black shadow, leaving only a glowing, terrifying ring of cosmic fire hanging in the sky. Heavy bronze weapons fell from trembling, terrified hands. Both massive armies were completely paralyzed by an overwhelming sense of cosmic terror. They immediately dropped to their knees in the dirt, declared an instant ceasefire, and quickly signed a peace treaty to appease the gods. Thales had flawlessly predicted a total solar eclipse. But he wasn't a magical wizard, and he didn't actually speak to the angry gods. He was simply a brilliant mathematician. By carefully studying centuries of ancient, complex Babylonian astronomical records, carved into dusty clay tablets, he found a secret. He successfully discovered the Saros cycle, a predictable geometric pattern of the cosmos that dictates exactly when eclipses will occur across the Earth. He disguised cold, hard mathematical calculations as divine, mystical prophecy in order to brilliantly manipulate the fearful minds of warring kings. Thales proved a truly terrifying truth. If you understand the mechanics of the universe better than the people around you, to them, you are a god. Fast forward to 204 BC. The Roman Republic is bleeding to death. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian nightmare, has been ravaging Italy for over a decade. Rome is desperate. Plagues, famines, and endless defeats have completely shattered their spirit. In their darkest hour, the terrified Senate turns to the Sibylline books, a collection of cryptic prophecies bought centuries earlier from a mystic. The priests cautiously unroll the ancient, fragile scrolls and read a terrifying mandate. The foreign invader will only be driven from Italy if the Magna Mater is brought to Rome. The Magna Mater, the Great Mother, wasn't a person. It was a massive, pitch-black meteorite resting securely in a distant temple in Asia Minor. The Romans launched a massive diplomatic mission, retrieved the sacred black stone, and brought it across the sea to the city. The moment the stone arrived, the atmosphere in Rome shifted. The heavy despair vanished instantly. Morale exploded. Filled with fanatical, invincible confidence, the Roman legions pushed back with terrifying force. Within 2 years, the nightmare ended. Hannibal was defeated. But wait, did the rock possess actual magic? No. The Sibylline prophecy acted as a psychological reset button. It changed their minds, not reality. When a society truly believes they are destined by heaven to win, they fight with a ferocity that makes the prophecy come true. It's the ultimate psychological warfare, and the Romans mastered it. But what happens when a prophecy doesn't inspire a miraculous victory, but instead breeds a dark, terrifying, and all-consuming paranoia? In 323 BC, Alexander the Great had done the impossible. He had conquered the entire known world with unmatched military brilliance. He was practically a living god, returning in triumph to the magnificent city of Babylon to rule his newly forged, vast empire. But as his massive army approached the towering Ishtar gates, a mysterious group of Chaldean stargazers suddenly blocked his path. They raised their hands and delivered a grim, chilling warning to the young conqueror, claiming the heavens had spoken. Do not enter Babylon from the west. If the king enters through these gates now, the king will surely die. Alexander, a fearless warrior who had never run from any mortal army, was suddenly and deeply terrified of the stars above him. Desperate to avoid his dark fate, he tried to march his massive army through the treacherous, muddy marshes to enter from the east. But the swamp terrain was completely impassable. Forced by logistics, he swallowed his fear and entered from the forbidden west. Almost immediately, a deep, gnawing paranoia consumed the young king. The dark shadows of the palace seemed to constantly whisper his name. He began drinking heavily, obsessed with the chilling prophecy, completely unable to sleep as anxiety slowly eroded his brilliant mind. Weeks later, the seemingly invincible conqueror collapsed with a sudden, mysterious fever. He faded away, dying at only 32 years old. Did the Chaldean stargazers actually see the future written perfectly in the stars? Or is there a darker, more scientific explanation? Did the immense psychological stress of the prophecy, combined with extreme physical exhaustion and disease, simply shatter his immune system? It was a tragic, self-fulfilling prophecy. The very act of predicting his inevitable doom is exactly what sealed his fate. Let's move away from kings and empires and look at the map of the world itself. In the 1st century AD, the brilliant Roman philosopher Seneca wrote a tragic play called Medea. Hidden quietly within the dramatic dialogue was a strange, haunting chorus. An age will come in the later years when ocean will loosen the bonds of things and a huge land will lie revealed. Tethys will disclose new worlds, and Thule will no longer be the edge of the earth. For over 1,000 years, these prophetic words sat quietly in dusty, forgotten libraries. People thought it was just poetic imagination, a beautiful fantasy of a writer. Europe believed the Atlantic Ocean was an endless, terrifying abyss of water where ships simply vanished into nothingness. But in the 15th century, a highly ambitious and slightly fanatical sailor read Seneca's words. He didn't see poetry. He saw a divine roadmap leading directly to destiny. He wrote the ancient prophecy down by hand in his personal journal, locking it into his mind. He used it to convince the King and Queen of Spain to fund a seemingly suicidal voyage into the absolute unknown. That fanatical sailor was Christopher Columbus. In 1492, after weeks of despair and near mutiny, he finally hit land. The huge land lay revealed, Exactly as Seneca had written 1,400 years prior, the prophecy had awakened. But Columbus didn't just fulfill a prophecy, he learned a much more dangerous skill: how to weaponize them. Fast forward to 1504. Columbus is stranded on the island of Jamaica. His ships are rotting and his men are starving. The indigenous people, tired of the outsiders, have stopped bringing food. Columbus and his crew are facing certain death. But he has a secret weapon, an astronomical almanac written by a brilliant German mathematician. He sees that a total lunar eclipse is scheduled for that very night, a gift from the cosmos itself. Columbus calls the native chiefs together and declares, "My God is angry with you for denying us food. Tonight he will turn the moon blood red as a terrifying sign of his divine wrath." The chiefs scoff and laugh. But as the sun sets and the moon rises, a terrifying, dark red shadow begins to consume it. The natives panic. They run towards Columbus's ship, begging for mercy, terrified that the world is ending. But Columbus doesn't come out. He retreats to his cabin and waits for exactly 50 minutes, watching an hourglass. He emerges and declares that God has forgiven them. Almost on cue, the red shadow clears and the moon returns to white. They immediately offer him endless supplies of food and gold. Columbus and his crew were saved by a lie. Just like Thales 1,000 years before, Columbus used the secret rhythm of the cosmos to play God. He didn't just fulfill Seneca's ancient words. He realized that prophecies are the ultimate tools of control. Because if you can control the future, you can control the world. But how does it all actually work? So how do we explain this? Are we living in a deterministic universe where everything is pre-written? Not exactly. The truth behind prophecies lies not in the stars, but in the fascinating and sometimes dangerous flaws of the human brain. First, we have confirmation bias. Throughout history, tens of thousands of prophecies have been made every single day. The 99.9% that are completely wrong, we forget them instantly. They are the background noise of history. But when one accidentally hits the mark, it is recorded, celebrated, and analyzed forever. This is the law of truly large numbers. Think of it this way. If you throw 1,000,000 darts blindly into the dark, one is bound to eventually hit the absolute bullseye. Second is the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. We see this with prophets like Nostradamus, who wrote in vague, poetic, and chaotic verses. His quatrains mean absolutely nothing on their own. They are a Rorschach test of history, designed to be interpreted by the desperate. But when a modern disaster happens, we look back, draw a bullseye around a random poem and say, "Look, he knew." We humans are desperate, hardwired, pattern-seeking machines. Our survival once depended on it. In the wild, it was better to prophesy a predator in the rustling leaves and be wrong than to ignore the pattern and be eaten. We cannot stand a chaotic, random universe. It terrifies us. We crave order, even if that order is a lie. We would rather believe a dark, terrifying prophecy than accept that the world is entirely, beautifully unpredictable. Prophecies are not windows into the future. They are mirrors reflecting the anxieties, the fears, and the deep desires of the present. They show us who we are, not where we are going. And that is their real power. King Croesus wanted validation. The Romans needed hope in their darkest hour. Columbus needed funding for a dream. The prophecies didn't predict the future. They gave humans the psychological push to go out and create it. We are not the victims of fate. We are the architects of our own destiny. Every decision you make, every step you take, is the pen writing the scroll of tomorrow. The future is not a locked room waiting for us to arrive. It is an empty canvas waiting for us to paint it. It is easy to look at ancient hourglass. It is easy to look for signs in the dark. It is much harder to trust the light of your own choices. But that is where the true magic lies. Its purple eyes pierce the screen. The only question is, what prophecy will you write for yourself today? The screen cuts to black. If you enjoyed this journey through time and the mind, don't forget to subscribe. more mysteries await. Special thanks to our sources, Britannica, History.com, and World History Encyclopedia. Full bibliography in the description.